Welcome back to Guys Improvise. You are listening to
Chill with Realms.
Jurassic Mark.
and Faerhad Targaryen. Last week we covered another Netflix series, Never Have I Ever. We all agreed that it's worth watching, so if you haven't had a chance to see that yet, go ahead and tune into Netflix and check out the show. And once you've completed the season, then check out our review. And for today's episode, it's another anime episode. And this one is fairly new. Before I say too much about it, because I did think it was quite good, I'm just going to say the name of it, The God of High School. Realms, you take it away.
Okay, so essentially it starts off in tournament style. The tournament is called the God of High School, and essentially there's teenagers in high school that are borrowing powers from gods and they're implementing it within their fighting styles. And the reason I chose it is it's because it's something that's fairly brand new. I've recently seen a lot of it myself, and I thought you guys might enjoy it.
I certainly enjoyed this one, yeah. So right after I got done watching it, I wanted to do a little bit of research on it, which I do for things that I review that I don't really know much about. And it turns out this is technically not a Japanese anime. It's South Korean. It was written by somebody who is Korean. And even though the characters are Japanese, I think the audio isn't Japanese. Its origins are technically not Japanese. The manga, or the original run, started in 2011. However, the anime, which we are reviewing, its original run started on July 6th of this year, 2020. And I think the first season is still running.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. I was going to ask about that because I know some anime fans are very adamant about not calling anything from outside of Japan anime. So if this was South Korean, is it still anime? Like, where do we draw the line? Like, would Avatar also be anime, or am I missing something?
No, they don't. They don't classify Avatar as anime, but
Hmm.
it's probably one of the most respected cartoons from America in the
Hmm.
anime community.
Hmm. It's just not considered anime.
Yeah, by technicality, because even some people would even try to classify Boondocks as an anime, but because it's from here, it's technically not. But it's got a lot of anime influence.
Well, I guess my question then is what qualifies this as anime if it's from South Korea?
I guess it technically doesn't. So
I'm just curious. I mean,
for the people who haven't done the research, they're gonna classify it as anime. But once the word gets out, that's when the debate starts.
So it's either anime or it's very heavily influenced by anime either way, which I think we could say that about both Avatar and the Boondocks. If you don't classify them as anime, you can tell by the art style that it was very hugely inspired by anime art style.
Yeah. Did you happen to see where the actual anime was being produced at? Like, was it being produced within South Korea, or did they push it out from a studio within Japan?
I guess the publisher was a company called Image Frame. The webtoon service in Korea was called Nabir Webtoon, according to Wikipedia. But it was licensed by Crunchyroll, and I even saw the watermark when I was watching your movie-length mashup. And I'm pretty sure Crunchyroll is famous for streaming anime, Japanese anime.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Because I do know, like, there's some creators from America that actually like go to Japan and have it pushed out from Japan, like with a Japanese studio, and it's considered anime at that point.
oh, that's the loophole. Okay, you got to get it like made by the right people, I guess.
Suppose so,
All right, all right.
at least from my observation.
Hmm.
Yeah, I wouldn't know too much about it either. Realms is definitely our expert on anime here, obviously. So if he says it's an anime, it's an anime.
Yes, sir. You're non-expert expert.
Hey, it passes the realms test,
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
and
that's
that's all you need. Let's be real.
yes, sir.
the God of High School centers around three main characters, right? I believe their names are pronounced Jin Mori, Han Dawe, and Yu Mira. Am I saying those names correctly?
I actually didn't watch the English version, so I'm not sure how they're saying Han's name, but every time they say it in the Japanese version, they're saying she said it day, like just day. In the sub.
Okay. All right. So just for the purpose of having a conversation, should we be referring to the main dude as Jin or Mori? I think Mori would be like more accurate, but I don't know. What should we be calling them?
His name is easier to pronounce either way, so either one works. For me, I wasn't sure whether it was Day or Daewee, so I was just going by Han for the moment.
Gotcha, gotcha. Okay, yeah. I've been referring to him as Dawe. I don't. I feel like that's totally off, but
That looks like how it's spelled.
kind of, yeah. Each of these characters are unique, and after I finished watching your movie length mashup, speaking of which, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, the mashup is encompassing the first 5 episodes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, after I watched the mashup, I went back to your commentary on it. Like, remember a few weeks ago when you made like a short little commentary about it? So I went back to refresh my memory on what your original thoughts about it were, and I remember you saying how you were having Pokemon flashbacks, Ash and Misty, with Mori and Mira, how they all met. For me, honestly, I was having massive Digimon flashbacks even before I started watching the show. It was Mori's design. Like, he has spiky hair in the shape of tie, and he even has those goggles. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. In hairstyle, he definitely does have Ty vibes. Just, I think I saw a bike. I saw angry female chasing after the main character, one of the main characters, and I was like, Pokemon. That's the first thing that just popped in my head at the time.
I gotta say, that scene where Mira is like gushing at those, I don't know, those bodybuilder dudes, right? She's just like
Yeah.
gushing at their muscles, and then Mori crashes into basically her face, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that actually just happened. Wow. I was not expecting that at all.
Mm.
Totally caught me by surprise.
Yeah, the show seems to like the style of comedy where you basically describe things as they're happening. Like, hey, there's a muscle man. I really like your muscles. Like, that sort of thing. That scene had me cracking up. It was a definite WTF moment, but man, those glistening dudes, they don't mess around.
Yeah, they're trying to show off.
But
Woo! I'm getting the vapors. Woo!
but those dudes were actually not in the tournament, and I have to say, like, this whole God of Highschool thing, I was mistaken what I thought it was. I thought it was like, these are high school students, obviously they're all 17, and they're going to high school, and their high school features an event called the God of Highschool. But it seems like the high school itself is separate from the facility where this tournament is being held. Is that correct, Realms, or is it both? That part was a little confusing for me.
It looks like it's separate.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. With the very beginning, setting the tone of how these characters are and setting what they can and cannot do, I was trying to figure out if some of the things happening to them were just for comedic relief or if it was showcasing their actual strength. What I mean by that is, you remember when Mira and Mori were chasing down the thief, and
Right.
her head slams into the traffic sign, and she crashes into it so hard that her face dents the sign. And I'm like, wow, a normal human being would not have survived that, but she gets out of that unscathed. So are they just setting a comedic tone, or is this the show's, slowish way of showing us how superhuman, like naturally superhuman, people are in this universe? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know what their actual intent was, but it does definitely display both sides of that. Like, the things that they've done, it seems like they wanted to have, the lighthearted, the comical moments, of course. But then when stuff like that happens, automatically thinking, like, these are not average, ordinary people. Like, you got Han, he punches the guy off the motorcycle. And it's like, how can your fist even withstand, like, the impact of somebody on a motorcycle zooming past you? You punch him and he flies into a truck. A normal person, your hand is going to be destroyed after that.
Yeah, exactly. So of course, when I see an anime of people fighting with superhuman strength like that, the immediate comparison I draw is Dragon Ball Z. But
Yeah.
it's definitely not exactly the same as Dragon Ball Z because, again, these types of shows have to, and this show especially did a good job of establishing what characters can do and what they cannot do. Okay, so one of the things that these characters can't do is that they can't fly. Everybody in Dragon Ball Z can fly. Nobody in God of Highschool can, unless they're just saving that for later. At least in the movie length mashup, we didn't see any indication that these characters can fly around, and if they did, that would sort of change the dynamic of the show at least a little bit. They can shake up the ground, they can punch through concrete, but their capabilities are not like city busting like some characters in Dragon Ball Z can do. So while I can't call this show grounded in reality, it seems a little more like the world that they're living in is fully aware that superhuman people exist. It's not like a secret to the world, basically. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, what I was going to say is actually I found that to be one of the more confusing aspects of the show. Like, Realms, when you said during the intro that these people were borrowing their powers from gods, that wasn't really something I think I had heard in the series. Maybe I wasn't paying attention to the right lines, but I don't remember hearing that in the actual show. And for my part, I was a little bit confused about where these powers came from, how these people were able to do the things that they did, and what the limitations of those powers were. I think that the scene that really threw me the most was when, and I'm gonna screw up pretty much every name, but when Mori had to fight the higher up as his punishment, you know the scene I'm talking about,
The
the
commissioner,
guy,
when he had to
the
fight.
commissioner, thank you. And the commissioner starts sending these ghost things out. I had to hit the pause button because I wasn't quite sure about what the hell was going on. I think maybe if they had put more emphasis on the fact that these are borrowed powers and maybe some people have access to things that other people don't in advance, that wouldn't have hit me out of left field to the extent that it did. But as presented, I was scratching my head a lot.
No, you're definitely not wrong. They didn't say it within those 5 episodes. I actually think they said it in episode 6. The guy Park that had the X on his forehead, he actually said that.
Yeah.
It was either episode 6 or 7.
Okay, so that's after your movie length mashup, though.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so there is an explanation coming.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
All right. So this guy that you're talking about, by the way, apparently he's a politician, Park Mujin. I'm just gonna call him Mujin for the sake of this podcast. He's the one who put this whole thing together. He was the one who was going to immediately disqualify Mori after he had stepped in that one fight. Mansuk and Go Gamdo. And Mansuk was the guy, I don't know, he looked like he was coming from jail. And because he had his arms banded up and he was only fighting with his feet and his legs. So he was entered into the tournament, I guess, to test people even further. And one thing that the show, I would say, does not always make totally clear is when we're seeing things happening now and when we're seeing flashbacks. Because we do see one flashback of Mansuk who's like on his hands and knees begging for forgiveness or something, saying that he's sorry. And that's basically how he treats Go Gamdo. I gotta say, this was the first part of the show where I was just like curling up. I'm like, damn, what's gonna happen next? What's actually going to happen? And then we see Mori steps in. But I really was wondering, because I didn't know how important of a character Go Gamdi was going to be, what was going to happen. He kept defying Mansuk, saying, I will never apologize to a guy like you. And then Mansuk just started torturing him, held both of his arms from behind and started kicking his back. And I really wondered what was going to happen. Was he going to cave and say that he was sorry? Or was he just going to get killed in the ring? It's not totally clear. We won't know because Mori stepped in to save him.
I'm actually not sure if they would have let it get that far for him to actually kill him. Because I know there's a part a little bit further up where somebody uses a power that seems like it's killing this person, but at the same time, moments later this guy is up and he's fighting again. So I don't know. But I think a big part of having him in there was just to show that, even in a tournament situation, when Mori thinks that, something is not right, he's still going to step in.
Right. Which is kind of like a Goku complex, it feels like.
Yeah.
But okay, so the part that was confusing for me in terms of in terms of being able to tell what's a flashback and what's not, after Mori steps in, he's able to easily outdo Mansuk, and then we see him crying in what looks like a hospital area. I'm guessing that was like at first I thought that was a flashback, but I'm guessing that was present time. Like
That was definitely present.
okay, so Mori hit him so hard that he was crying at the hospital. Basically, is what happened there.
Mori turned him into a little bitch baby. That is correct, sir.
Oh man. Now, as we're going to be talking about the fight scenes, I gotta say the action sequences were really amazing to watch. Like it was a mixture of like, hard hitting punches, and then like I think some of it even incorporated real life martial arts. I'm not an expert at all. I don't know anything about martial arts, but it seems like ever so often they were incorporating real life martial arts into the God of Highschool tournaments.
I was going to say, I liked the POV cameras. It only happened in a couple of fights, but there were shots filmed from the perspective, usually of the person who was getting punched. But that was a really inspired decision, I felt, because it put you in the mindset of a guy in the ring. They didn't just show everything from a distant camera.
It reminds me of like the boxing games on the Nintendo Wii.
Oh yes, like the first person boxing, right?
Yeah.
I do think, though, the fight scenes could have done with fewer cutaways, and this ties back to the flashbacks we were talking about. I think what the show could have used is something like the first episode of Sword Art Online, where it's not the most action-packed episode, but it establishes the world. It gives you some idea of what all the characters want and what their anxieties are, and it raises the stakes. And then in episode 2, it throws you into the action. And I think we could have probably done that here and then not felt the need to throw flashbacks in the middle of fight scenes. At least not to the same extent. Like once in a while, that sort of thing can work, but it got to the point where in like almost every other fight, there's a flashback to something usually pretty non-violent that sort of clashes with the action a bit. At least that's how I felt. But what do you guys think?
I was cool with it, except one of the later episodes actually did it, and it bugged me.
I think also if they had told us a little bit more about these characters up front, it would have raised the suspense a little bit. Because if you're going to generate suspense, you need information. So knowing, for instance, that this guy has a friend who's in the hospital raises your anxiety levels. And I think it would have been a little bit tighter if they had just explained some of that stuff before the punching started, at least in some cases.
That makes sense.
I was kind of feeling that way because every episode showed a little bit of, backstory or origin to each of our main characters. We got it for Mori, we got it for Mira, and I was thinking like, oh, okay, well, we haven't really seen much of Dawe's backstory. But then we start to see that he had like a friend who he would violently play fight with, who ended up getting really sick. Like, was it that his friend got cancer? Couldn't tell.
It seems that way, but I'm not sure they actually even say it.
And I also couldn't tell, like, whatever, however he got sick, did Dawe have anything to do with that? Like, was it because of him? Like, did he feel some sort of remorse or guilt for having his friend become sick? Or was it just that he really cared for him and wanted to help him as much as possible?
It looked like he just really cared about his friend, and he just wanted to help him. Because you got this guy Mujin, he's basically incentivizing him to fight in this tournament so that they can use the technology that they have to help his friend.
Which doesn't work anyway, as we find in horrific fashion.
Because they did it too late.
Yeah.
This nanotechnology, it's nanotech apparently that they're using. They call it nanomachines, but nanomachines are probably nanotechnology, right? So this technology has the power to heal broken necks overnight, essentially, or not even overnight, like in a couple of hours, it seems even. So they have the power to save the world, this technology, but it seems like it's exclusive to people who sign up to the tournament, right?
Yeah,
You
what
guys
was the
don't
deal with the
know.
wishes? Like the winner of the tournament gets a wish.
I was actually wondering that as well. It's not like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's not like there's some magic genie character who's able to grant it. I was also thinking like, okay, is this God of High School tournament run by Mujin, who's like a multi-billionaire and will be able to do something like that? Like, will be able
Hmm.
to give the winner of the tournament what they want, or is there magic involved? I mean, so the show is called God of High School, but there are at least two scenes where we see, as you call it, JM, ghost characters. But to me, they look like demons. And I'm talking about both the time that Mori was fighting the commissioner and the second time when Mira was about to marry that really shady guy, Song Jin, I think his name is. And as they go to interrupt the wedding, some demon thing comes out of him and Mira is able to subdue him. But what is that about? So are those the quote unquote gods that live within the bodies of the people?
Honestly, I need to see a little bit more in order to even know for sure if that's what that is. Because I think there's a specific name for it. It shows it in the intro song. There's a specific name for the technique that they're using. So I don't know if those are actually gods or if there's like something a little bit different.
They look like demons to me, to be honest. They did not look like anything. They looked evil, I'm going to say, whatever
Yeah.
that was. In fact, several times we see characters' eyes glow red. At first, I thought this was just done for dramatic effect, but now I wonder if that actually means that there's something more within them. The first time we see it, I'm pretty sure, is right after Mori crashes into Mira. She gets so angry that her eyes turn red. I'm like, oh, okay, they're just showing that she's super mad. But after a while, after Mansuk showed up and his eyes started glowing red, and then a few episodes later, we see these demon characters. Now I'm thinking, are those flashing red eyes supposed to signify something more? Is it more than what meets the eye?
I think this show's storytelling philosophy is punch first, ask questions later. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but I think what the writers here are trying to do is sort of gradually hint at the bigger world and what the forces at work there are while prioritizing the fight scenes. So every episode you'll get a big fight followed by a little taste of something bigger that might be going on, like maybe government conspiracy, maybe a new demon. But I think it's sort of a slow wade into the mythology of this universe as opposed to throwing us into the deep end right away. To use a pool metaphor, I don't know if I've ever done that before, but anyway.
It seems like they try to go for the shock factor first,
Mm.
like leave you with questions and then answer them.
Mm. Yeah, it looks like they're trying to chip away at the mythology bit by bit without ever really going into too much detail in any one episode.
Yeah, like how they have. I guess we're just gonna call him Daiwi for
Mm.
now. Okay, like how they have him beating the hell out of Mira, and we're like, what the hell is wrong with him? And then suddenly now they're
Mm.
like, okay, now he has a friend in the hospital. This is why,
Mm.
he's beating the hell out of her.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a backwards method, but
I didn't really watch the TV show Lost, but I had friends who did, and they used to tell me that that's kind of how it worked on that show. Like they'd throw something really strange at you in one episode and then explain it a little bit in the next one, but never really tell you everything. But that was sort of their approach.
okay.
The Walking Dead kind of did that sometimes too. And I used to be a really big fan
Mm.
of that show until season 7. After that, I just completely stopped watching it. But yeah, speaking of that fight between Dawe and Mira, I was kind of shocked when he punched her and she started bleeding. At first, I'm like, damn, is he punching her so hard that not only does he make her bleed internally, as in bruises, but also like cuts her open? But then it's like, oh, wait, okay. He basically reopened a wound that she was healing from. And what I will say about this show is that every plot hole you might think there is, they actually fill in those plot holes because a scene later, she explains that she didn't know that the commissioners who run the tournament would have allowed her to use the nanotechnology to heal herself up as a privileged contestant. If she knew that, she would have done that. And I was thinking like, okay, all right, she didn't know that, but if she did, then she would have been able to fight full strength. And that makes me wonder, we probably still haven't seen the full potential of any of these characters. Realms, your movie length mashup climaxed at Dawei versus Mori, which again, that is a great place to end it. And I was hyped at the end there. I'm like, damn, I really don't know who's gonna win because I can't even tell who's stronger. The commissioners are discussing the fight, right? And one of them says that they seem to be evenly matched. And another one says that, yeah, but one of them seems to have a little more raw skill than the other, and they'll find out soon enough. Like them fighting, they'll find out soon enough. And I was thinking, okay, we, the audience, were we supposed to pick up on that and know who they were referring to, as in who has the slightly better skill? Or was it intentionally ambiguous that we also were not supposed to be able to know who they're talking about, Dawei or Mori, you know?
I don't know if it was completely obvious, when they made that statement, but for me, like looking back and looking at the two characters, Han is a little bit more street style with his fighting, in my opinion. And then you see Mori, he has more of a Taekwondo background. So in that sense, I would say he has more like technical skill. So in comparison to somebody like Goku, like that's usually, his edge over other people, like his edge over Vegeta. Vegeta's a strong character, but he doesn't have a lot of, martial arts background or a lot of senseis who've taught him different things. So that's why typically Goku ends up being the one who has an ass pull plot armor move that happens.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, now that you mention it, I didn't think about this before, but it's great how each and every character had their own diverse set of, attack skills. And Dawei is definitely more of the street brawler that you're talking about, while Mori's more of the martial artist.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that Taekwondo itself is a Korean fighting style. So, and the guy Mujin, he says that he's a Korean politician. So I guess it kind of makes sense after having not known anything about God of Highschool and then reading about it. It makes sense that the anime itself is Korean in origin.
Yeah. Believe it or not, the different fighting styles is one of the saddest parts for me.
Why?
yeah?
Because the one character, Mission Ma, like she has the wrestling style, and that's one of the styles that had me the most hype.
I was just about to, bring her up, because you were
Was she the
talking.
American?
Yes, I think she's
Oh,
American. Yeah.
Was she like the one who wanted the harem of like all boys? Or am I thinking of somebody else?
Wait, no. I don't. Wait.
No, that
Did
was her.
somebody
That
say
was her.
something
She
like
said
that?
that if she wins, she wants to have like a harem of all the men.
The blonde lady.
That was chewing
Shit, I
bubblegum.
forgot all about that.
Yeah, that's what she said she would use her wish for, just to be surrounded by gorgeous men all day long.
Oh, actually, you remind me of something else too. But I'll bring that back up in a minute. But yes, her.
All right.
I'm sad because I love her character so much, like because of the fighting style, but she's not a main character
At all for like the rest of the show.
After her fight with Mira, I haven't seen her since then so far, and I'm on episode 9 right now.
Okay.
How many have come out so far?
11.
Okay. Yeah, maybe she'll come back.
Maybe.
Well, you also said in your commentary that you have been told by the manga readers that the show is leaving a lot of stuff out. So do we know that there isn't more with her in the manga, at least so far?
I don't know anything about her being further in the story from the manga, but I think with them saying that, I think it's just like there's just more detail from what we've seen that's been cut out, but like nothing. I would assume nothing too crucial, nothing that takes away from the story is missing. I would assume.
Okay. That makes me, if she doesn't really become significant again, that makes me feel like as the story goes on, the show is just going to continue introducing more and more new fighters, new fighter characters, and then kind of dropping them later. Because like even Golgamda and Mansuk, I'm wondering if we're going to see more of them again, you know, or if they were just there just to, you know, hype up the beginning of the tournament, like when it was all a battle royale until more and more of them were getting knocked out, and it turned into more of like a one-on-one, you know.
I can tell you right now, without spoiling too much, in the upcoming episodes, they enter, well, not enter, but the tournament continues. It becomes a team tournament, you know, 3-person team, and it introduces new fighters.
You mean it turns into like a tag team fight?
Not tag team, but it's one-on-one, but you have to get 2 wins, basically. So if the first 2 people win their one-on-one, your team advances.
Ah, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, Mansuk was my favorite, by the way. It's hard to make a bookish character look cool, but they pulled that off. He's just going to close his book, and then he's going to smack you with that baseball bat.
See, that's the thing. It's like you know, enjoy these other characters, but it's like, are they ever coming back now? Like, because I wish, I low-key, no, I high-key would rather Misha Ma be one of the main characters instead of Mira. Like, I like Mira, but Misha Ma, I love her fighting style. Like, the Stone Cold Stunner, that had me hyped. Then she did the rock bottom. I was like, chill.
WWE!
Hell yeah, it brought me back.
Oh my god. We would have her action figure in like middle school.
Hell yeah.
Right next to Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Off topic, but I still want to eventually get one of the old title belts.
I know somebody with one of those, I think, anyway.
Ooh, what's the price? What's the price?
I don't know.
I mean, they look pretty sharp.
They do.
And your pants will never ever fall down with that much belt supporting them. Speaking of, do you guys remember like early in the show, I forget who it was, but like somebody's pants got pulled down in the ring and they were wearing like elephant underwear.
Oh, yeah.
And he's going, it's what's inside that counts.
Turn around, you just see the elephant on the front. It's like, so this is where that's going.
You know, they say an elephant never forgets.
At least he was wearing his trunks.
Yeah, thank God.
On the topic of Mom Mison, that's the wrestler girl, right?
Yeah.
So I kind of like how each of the main characters, the 3 of them, they all have like a significant backstory, you know? It seems like Mori is the grandson of some tiger god type character, and that's why Mujin is so interested in him, right? I think he's interested in Mori's full potential power, and that's why instead of immediately disqualifying him, he allows for him to re-enter the tournament as long as he can beat a commissioner. And Mira, her family is like, or I guess her father was part of, she had this specific fighting style. I think it was called the Moonlight Sword style, and it's passed down her family as a tradition. Her father passed away, so her uncle raised her with her cousin, which was cute, that she just grew up, you know, with extended family. I thought that was kind of nice. And although we don't really know much about Daoi's family, we know his motivations. So if Mamizon were to be brought back, I would like for there to be like layers to her character, you know? I'm sure, like, I get why, like, you really like her. For me personally, like, if they were to bring her back and make her part of the main story, then I'd want to understand her motivations beyond just having like a harem of men surrounding her.
True. Yeah, if they did bring her back, that would be cool if they, you know, actually took some time to give her a meaningful story. Although, for me, I just want to see more wrestling moves.
Well, maybe they'll go down like the end of Avatar or Gravity Falls, where they bring back all the minor characters in the last episode for just this big battle royale.
That'd be dope.
That would be pretty awesome.
You know, if they would just at least, if they, I don't know, make somebody else start doing wrestling moves, I'll settle.
Yeah, I was gonna say we can have more than one character with who knows how to fight with a wrestling style.
I can come.
Hit him with the chair.
I can compromise.
Well, yeah, they did say that any weapons are a go, so you could just bring in a chair and hit them with it.
Dude, somebody
Oh
later in the
yeah.
episode, like, they're just throwing a weapon to him from outside the ring.
Somebody's just gonna bring out a pistol in one of these.
Oh, damn.
Or it'll
So
be like no, it'll be like when The Rock hit that guy in the face with like the lid of a garbage can.
Oh, shit.
I don't remember who he was fighting, but I remember watching it when I was a kid. They had you know how they would do those like really ridiculous campy intros for WWE?
Yeah.
Well, they did one where this guy was driving by in a Jeep or something. He had his head out the window, and The Rock just came up and smashed him in the face with a garbage can lid.
Damn. They did a
Just
lot of
total.
crazy.
They got away with so much. It was ridiculous.
Well, I remember, I think it was Booker T and Stone Cold Steve Austin. They had them fighting in a grocery store. They did so much stuff.
Oh my god. Clean up on aisle 12.
so I will say one thing that also has me intrigued is at the end of the movie-length mashup when Dawei decides to take the loss. I feel like he lost on purpose, though. I feel like there was more in him, and he just lost the will to fight, kind of, and just gave it to Mori. But I really wonder who is the stronger out of the two of them right now. And then Mujin, like, he whispers under his voice or something, and he says he found two tiger cubs, referring to both Dawei and Mori. So it makes you wonder. It made me wonder, anyway, what these characters have in store. But I like how each character kind of balances each other out. How Mori is kind of the happy-go-lucky character, and Dawei is seen as more of the quiet, most of the time calmer and more collected, more mature character. He obviously has bursts of angers when you push him too far, like those guys who were bullying him at work. I was waiting for him to do something back, and then when he was finally pushed over the edge, he beat the shit out of them. And when we first see Mira, like literally the first scene, we think that she's going to be like kind of a typical girl character, but then we see that she can really kick ass, right? So yeah, I like how they each kind of balance each other out. I thought that was kind of nice. I liked all the characters. I really liked the fighting and action sequences. It's a refreshing change in terms of having an action anime type that isn't like superhero level. I mean, definitely can be seen as superhero level, but not at the same degree of power levels that we see in Dragon Ball Z, which is probably the most famous anime for like superhero type characters,
At least not Z. Like, I'd say they definitely at least display more power than we see in Dragon Ball.
Yes. Yeah.
But definitely got to build up to more power. You can't just come out with all your best shit and then wonder what to do next.
Right. And it seems like in this universe, people are aware that there are human beings that exist with this much power. And even the demons that have come out, even that seems to be like not driving everybody crazy. One of the other commissioners, or maybe it was even Mujin himself, who said, you're suspended without pay for 3 months. I think you know why. And I think that's because he let his demon come out or whatever that was. So I'm sure there'll be more explanations to it as time goes on. I mean, Rams are even saying in either episode 6 or 7, they do go into what those demons are supposed to be. But going into closing statements, I really liked this anime. I liked the characters. I liked the action sequences. I liked the art style. I liked the soundtrack. Like the music behind it was also pretty nice. It complemented the show very well. JM, I do kind of agree with you that sometimes they threw in a little too many flashbacks in the middle of the fight sequences. I did appreciate them, but because it goes to show what went on in terms of origin for these characters. But sometimes they could have just led up with that instead of showing it right then and there in the middle of the fight. So yeah, it goes both ways for me. I like how they show how important family is. Like Mira's extended family, her uncle becomes her adoptive father. I like that they're showing that family, family will be there to take care of you. And she really cared for her cousin, who's basically her adoptive sister. I like that as well. I'm wondering if we're going to see more of the other two characters' families. Like, who does Mori actually stay with? That was not totally clear to me. Same with Dawei. I would like to see a little more of that. And I want to see what angle Mugen is coming from. Like, is he truly evil? Is he only after power? Because they did say he's a politician, but he's a superpowered politician, so there's got to be more to it than that. There was a scene where he infiltrated the Pentagon and spoke to the president of what seemed like the United States. So what is his ultimate agenda? You know, like, I wonder if the manga has answered these questions already, but I guess we'll see. Of course, gentlemen, if you have any closing statements.
I wanted to double back to the tournament wish. So, I don't know, they kind of have similarities with Dragon Ball Z in the sense, like, you can kind of say the nanotechnology, the way it's able to, like, heal people super fast, that's kind of like having their own little version of the sensu bean in Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
They eat the sensu bean, they're instantly okay again. So,
well, the wishes are a little bit like the Dragon Balls.
Yes.
Maybe.
Now, about that, it's nothing I've seen, like, actually within the show, but within, like, some of the fan art, I've seen, like, them have Mori in one of the pictures, and they'll have, like, the dragon. Like, they'll have Shenron in the background, but they'll have, like, I saw one that had 2 Shenrons behind him. So it's like, is this another thing that they're going to be implementing into the show that's, an original Dragon Ball imagery that we've seen? I don't know. It's one of the things I'm not quite sure. But it leads me to believe they might actually have, like, a dragon or something that grants a wish.
Well, they never did explain what attacked those people on the island in the first scene.
Oh, no, that was Mugen.
Oh, that was him. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
They show that symbol on his hand at some point.
Right.
And that's the imprint that it left on the island.
Well, what I meant was I don't think they explained, like, how he did that, and maybe that's something that's going to come into play later.
It's some sort of power he has. Like, he can, like, you saw when he showed up at the tournament and, like, he was trying to control the situation. He was able to just wave his hand and able to make both characters, like, just stuck on the ground. He's able to manipulate his hands in different ways. And I guess he can push it through space and time to a different location and enlarge it and, like, smash people.
Okay.
But other than that,
we have our Bill Cipher, everybody.
Other than that, I really enjoyed the show. Like, I loved the fighting. I loved the different styles that they incorporated. There's characters in there that I wish were in there more so, but I still do enjoy the characters that they do have as the main characters. As far as Mugen and his, I guess, agenda, I'm not too sure whether he's good or bad. Like, in the coming episodes after the 5 that you've seen, there's conflicts in there that kind of make it seem like he might be on the good side, just maybe he's an anti-hero, maybe. I don't know. But the answer remains to be seen.
Indeed. I'm going to recommend this to people who like action cartoons of this sort, like Dragon Ball Z. I know there are others, but none come to mind right now. It does a few things really, really well. Overall, I enjoyed it. I did think it could have built up the suspense a little bit better and maybe spent more time setting up the world before sending the fists flying. But the fact remains that this is an action show and they wanted to get to the fights as quickly as possible. So I'm not going to begrudge that. And I did like the characters, particularly Mira. And this might sound like a random thing to praise, but I liked her facial animation. I don't know if you guys remember the look on her face that she gave her friends after the wedding fell apart. It was tender, and the animation team did a really good job expressing how she was feeling without giving her dialogue there. But anyway, I know that's a random thing to bring up.
No, I actually really liked that. Yeah, I remember when she, like, told them to turn around so that they could take a selfie. I thought that was a really nice moment.
Yeah.
As far as the other things you were saying, JM, I think the fact that they didn't do much world building before going straight to the action, I think that is a valid criticism. I would have liked to have seen more of the world, even though it was clearly contemporary. There was this one dude who was freestyling on an Instagram live, it looked like, with
that dude. Yeah.
with the lady in the background who had her snatched away. And Realms, what you were saying about how there could be like actual dragons in the show, like they were hinting at. Yeah, think that could be interesting as well. So that would mean that there's a lot more to this world than just being like a modern contemporary world. So I guess you probably know more about it, but I guess you're holding yourself back from spoiling because we're only talking about your movie length mashup. But
A lot of it I don't even know for sure myself. Just looking through the fan art, some of the imagery that they showed, it seems like there's a lot more, I guess, mystique that's going to be added to the show.
interesting. Okay. Yeah, I mean,
Some political intrigue.
I can dig it. I can dig the mystique. I can dig the intrigue. Going into ratings for the movie length mashup that you put together, I liked it, and I think I even liked it a little better than the other animes we reviewed. So I'm going to give the God of Highschool, the Realms movie length mashup, a slight bump. So I'll give it an 8.5 out of 10.
That's exactly what I was going to give it.
Nice.
For those 5 episodes and the way that they displayed everything, and then the way they capped on that fifth episode, that was an 8.5 for me.
I'll give it a 6.5, but that's a solid 6.5. I know it might not sound it, but I genuinely think that if you really, really, really like action cartoons, you'll have a good time with this one. There were a couple of things I would have changed if it was up to me, but I recognize that at the end of the day, people watch these shows to watch things get punched. And if you have to prioritize that over a few other elements, then that's perfectly okay sometimes. All in all, it's a good show with good characters.
So, with that being said, JM, do you have a good show with good characters to recommend for us?
Oh, jeez. Oh, boy. Well, I hope so. So I'm going to recommend a series that aired on one of the major TV networks. I forget which one, in about 2002, and it was called Dinotopia. And it's based on a series of children's books I really enjoyed about this fantasy world where people forge a society with intelligent dinosaurs. I know that sounds stupid, but it's actually very fun, and I think the show is pretty good. I think it's held up pretty well, but I'm hesitant because I haven't actually watched it in like 10 years, so I'd be curious to see what you guys think. There are 3 episodes. They're hour and a half each, but a lot of money went into these, and I think some surprising actors appear as well, and I'll leave it at that.
Dinotopia.
Dinotopia.
Got it. Okay. All right.
The mini-series, not the TV show. I'll send you guys the link. They
Solid.
did do a spin-off TV show that was a weekly ordeal, but this is different.
Okay. That name rings a bell, but for some reason I can't put any faces or story to it. But the name definitely sounds familiar.
Yeah, it was big in like 2002, 2003, but they couldn't turn it into like a weekly show. It only lasted for like 3 episodes when they tried that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, also,
Uh-huh.
the reason I said "oh no" earlier was because you said you haven't watched it in 10 years. There was a movie I used to love it so much when I was younger. It's a Disney movie, The Pagemaster, and then I went back to watch it, and I was like, "Yo, why did I like this movie?"
Oh no, it didn't hold up.
It didn't hold up. Like,
that's a bummer.
It wasn't the same for me anymore.
Oh hell, I love that movie. But maybe I feel differently now.
Realms, maybe if you watch it again for the 3rd time, maybe you'll feel differently. Like, maybe you'll flip back. Maybe you'll change your mind back.
Maybe. Anything's possible.
Anything is possible. Yeah. So, isn't that like the slogan for Nike or Adidas or something?
It might be.
Anyway, that just about does it for this episode of Movie Guys Improvise. You have been listening to
Chill with Realms,
Jurassic Mark,
and Faerhad Targaryen. Thank you all so much for listening to us on today's anime episode, and catch us again next week.
Thank y'all for chilling with us. Appreciate you for always tuning in. If you're always tuning in, I don't know if you're always tuning in, but if you are, we appreciate you. But anyways, chill energy only, y'all.
Wookie.
Classic.